What's up, everybody? My name is Laban LaGreca, and this is Autodidact. In this video, I want to talk to you about how virtue is its own reward in and of itself. I got the idea for this video from reading Emerson's essay Compensation, essay number 3 in his first series. And he begins that essay by talking about a preacher he heard speak about how in this life the wicked get to enjoy all of the pleasures of the earth and the virtuous suffer, but when judgment day comes and heaven comes down to earth, all of the virtuous will finally be the ones who get to enjoy life and enjoy the fruits of creation. And Emerson talks about how everyone left that sermon really just seeming like it didn't really bother them that the preacher was saying this, and he felt very perturbed, very put off by it. He was saying how, in his experience, the virtuous are the ones that actually enjoy life more, and the wicked suffer the consequences of their own actions. And I'll say that in my own experience, I've completely found what he's saying to be true. All of the times that I've tried to keep certain vices in my life because I felt I deserved it, or I just needed an outlet for this certain urge or desire, that I've paid the price. I've definitely come to learn that there are no exceptions to any rules in life, in nature. Like basically, I'm starting to believe that the moral universe is as objective as the natural universe. We definitely, just like there's physics in nature, I think there's physics in the moral realm. And any action that we think, oh well, it's not that bad, it's not gonna, I'm not gonna have any consequences for this, I can get away with this. I've almost realized that I've never gotten away with any of it. And especially just with, even if the bare minimum, the only consequence is less respect for myself and less peace of mind, to me that is actually one of the worst things, one of the worst consequences on earth. We always will dismiss that as that's not really a bad consequence as long as no one else knows. But in reality, to lose that security and that peace with yourself and that confidence in yourself that I'm the kind of person with a strong character that does good things, well, to me that's the only foundation for self-confidence. I mean, I think everyone ultimately really desires to be self-confident, to be self-assured, to go into any situation and feel strong in and of themselves. And to me, that kind of confidence, that kind of strength can really only be built in private. And I've only started to come to realize this in the past year, I'd say. I definitely spent the first 4 years of my college career just indulging in pornography, never going to class, never doing my homework assignments, wishing I was sleeping around, doing all these things that were, in retrospect, obviously bad for me. But at the time, I thought I needed them, or I thought it wasn't that bad. And as I've definitely just, I couldn't prove to myself that there was any reason not to do them. I thought that there wasn't anything making it more worth it to give up those things. And now I'm starting to understand that virtue, which also means excellence if you trace it back to its ancient Greek roots, is its own reward. To do things that are good and you're proud of, even if no one else notices, that's its own reward in my opinion. And to do things that are bad for you, bad for your soul, whether you could even have a great intellectual argument for why it isn't bad for you, I ultimately think you're lying to yourself. And that's gonna, once again, I think those forms of lies, those forms of untruth are the most subtle and the most dangerous. And you're the one paying the price for it, whether you can see it now or not. Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of strength, and it's a hard spiritual journey to clean up your life in this way. But I would say that the more order you get in your own life, the more you can trust yourself in private to do the admirable and virtuous things, the happier you'll be. And you'll just, it may not be apparent to you at the time that it's worth it to give up those things, but once you get on the right track and you're starting to reap the rewards, and once again, I find they're almost never external rewards, but you'll start to reap the internal rewards of, wow, I'm proud of myself for this, I'm happy with myself for this. And that'll make it so apparent to you that this was the right path, that this is the right thing to be doing, that you're happy you're on this path. And you'll no longer need any intellectual arguments for why you should be doing this or that. You'll just say, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. And I would say that a good example of this is just like health. I think everyone can relate to this. We often will maybe think that, oh, to be healthy, you have to have enough discipline to work out. You don't get to eat junk food, and junk food is so good, and if I can't live a life without junk food, that's not a life worth living. And we think the unhealthy people are the ones who, like in what Emerson said about the sermon, are getting to enjoy all the fruits of the earth now, and we're not going to get to enjoy any of them. But what you'll often find is, as you start eating healthy, and you can still, like all things in moderation, you can have cake and stuff as you want it, you can have ice cream. Like my rule for stuff like this is I allow myself to eat anything I want, drink anything I want whenever I'm traveling or on like a mini vacation. Like it could be even just a weekend trip, but I can indulge in foods whenever I'm traveling. But if I'm at my home base, then I gotta stay solid and disciplined in that way. And for me, that's a good form of moderation. But what I'm saying is you'll notice that once you begin to get healthy, once you begin to exercise and eat right, you'll notice, oh my gosh, I thought I was missing out on food and the pleasures of eating, but what I actually was missing out on when I was in that state was the pleasures of health, the pleasures of feeling just healthy in my own body, the feeling loose in my movements and good, clear in my head. Like those are the greatest pleasures on earth. And I often just find that there's so much better rewards for doing the right thing, but our tastes are often skewed to the wrong signal. We want the more instantly gratifying thing, where if we can tune ourselves to the more long-term gratifying thing and just pay closer attention to how we feel after we're doing those virtuous acts, we'll realize the pleasure is actually way greater by doing that thing. And I mean, once again, you can always go too far. Like there's some people that sacrifice their health with their obsession of working out. They're working out too much. They're no longer feeling healthy or loose in their body. They're tight and they're stiff because they went too far in the other direction, or they can't enjoy any food because they're so strict with their diet. And to me, that's not necessarily a life I want to live either. You do need moderation. That is a virtue. Moderation is a virtue. And so, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a nuanced thing. But ultimately, I just would say pay closer attention to how you feel after doing good things, and pay closer attention to how you feel after doing bad things. And always, always, always listen to your conscience and say, if there's any argument in your head where you're like, oh, I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I think I can because of this, just go in the other direction, even if there's no logical reason for doing it. And I think if you live in that way, you'll find greater pleasures than you've ever experienced. And you'll see at the end of the journey, it's definitely worth it. Yeah, so I hope that makes sense. I'm definitely going to talk about this more in the future, because I don't necessarily feel I explained it as well as I would have liked to in this video. And this is one of my foundational beliefs and foundational, this is just genuinely what I try to live my life upon. And I could talk about this for ages and ages and give many more examples, but this will suffice for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember that virtue is its own reward. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.